You too, and a very good evening, everyone. Welcome back once again to the MSBS Weekly Guided Meditation by Phra Goh. Today is the 14th of May, 2024. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish all the Buddhists happy Vesak Day. Monday, we'll be revisiting the subject of the Enlightenment of the Buddha today. So let's compose our minds, put our palms together, and welcome Bante to lead in the homage to the Buddha and taking 5 precepts for Buddhists. Over to you, Bante.
Okay, thank you, Terence. So we start off with paying respects to the Buddha by bowing 3 times. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Start off with the homage. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. 3 refuges. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. And the 5 precepts. Pāṇātipada vēramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. Adinādāna vēramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. Kāmesu micchācārā vēramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. Musāvādā vēramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. Suramēraya majjapamādātāna vēramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So good evening to everybody. So tonight we are continuing this topic of the enlightenment of the Buddha. So actually last week we started off this topic. So talk about the Buddha in search. When he left the palace, he was searching. We talked about he looked for his first teacher, this Alara Kalama. And now we're going to talk about the second teacher, which is this Uddaka Ramaputta. So the first teacher taught him this meditation, concentration called the realm of nothingness. And the second teacher, the same process. Now you have to approach this teacher, Uddaka Ramaputta, go through the theoretical understanding, memorize by word of mouth the theoretical teachings, and then confronted the teacher and asked, what have you attained? And the same thing, the teacher claimed he have reached so and so level. There's neither perception, non-perception. and he himself went to practice, and after practicing, he went to interview, have an interview with the teacher again, and the teacher, this Udakaramaputra, confirmed that this ascetic Gautama has achieved this neither perception nor non-perception. So we move to the previous slide. Okay. No, the next one. Yeah, okay. So the same thing. So what the teacher offered him, it's a gain for us, my friend, a great gain for us that we have such a companion in the holy life. The Dhamma I know is the Dhamma you know. The Dhamma you know is the Dhamma I know. As I am, so are you. As you are, so am I. Come, friend, let us now lead this community together. So basically, this Uddaka Ramaputta and the ascetic Gautama has equal footing, equal understanding, equal realization of this neither perception nor non-perception. So I think this Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi has his own theory that Uddaka Ramaputta hasn't achieved, hasn't achieved this state of neither perception or non-perception. So for this offer is for Alara Kalama to lead the community together. But for Uddaka Ramaputta, he offered ascetic Gautama to lead the community. So Uddaka Ramaputta become the student, not the teacher. Right? So that's his theory. Okay, then, but thought occurred to me, this Dhamma leads not to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to stealing, to direct knowledge, to self-awakening, nor unbinding, right? So unbinding from what? Birth, aging, sickness, and death. So that was the criteria when he set out to ordain. But both these teachers, they teach this high level of formless concentration, doesn't fulfill this criteria. Okay, so we move on to the next slide. So the next popular school is to torture yourself. So the first two teachers, we call it freezing the karma. If you enter states of concentration, everything very still, right? But doesn't lead to cessation, doesn't overcome craving, and it doesn't lead to unbinding. So the person is still tied to samsara. So that's freezing the karma. So the other popular school at that time is to burn your karma. So to burn your karma, they believe in torturing themselves. So these are the list of practices he went through. Okay, self-mortification. So the first one is clenching the teeth and pressing my tongue against the roof of my mouth. I beat down, constrain, and crush my mind with my awareness. So teeth clenching. So nowadays, I visited my gum specialist. They tell me, clenching your teeth not good for your gums. The bacteria can go in. So it's not a healthy habit. But after the Buddha got enlightened, sometimes he did mention by effort and through strength, you clench your teeth and beat down unwholesome thought. Yeah. So maybe sometimes you do it, but don't do it too frequently. So I stopped the in breaths and out breaths in my nose and mouth. So the first method is to physically clench your teeth and stop negative thoughts. And the second one is stop your breathing. Right? Stop your breathing. My body was aroused and uncalm because of the painful exertion, but the painful feeling that arose in this way did not invade my mind or remain. So he has very good concentration. So even though he's torturing himself, mentally he's calm. Mentally he's calm. So he purposely don't want to breathe in or breathe out, suffocate himself, and also clench his teeth very hard. Right? So, but with all this so-called pain, the mind is still unaffected. So the devas, so we have observers, unseen observers. Devas on seeing me said, Gautama the contemplative is dead. So not all devas are accurate. So some people, when they meditate, want to see devas and ask for sign. And not all of them give accurate reading. So this is one example. Some of them, they believe this Gautama contemplative is dead because he stopped breathing. He forced himself to stop breathing. Other devas said, he isn't dead, he's dying. Others said, he's neither dead nor dying. He's an arahant, for this is the way arahants live. So some devas believe he got enlightened, even though he hasn't got enlightened. So that is the how reliable are these devas. Okay, next. Okay, then this is about fasting. I thought, suppose I were to practice going all together without food. Then devas came to me and said, dear sir, please don't practice going all together without food. If you go all together without food, we'll infuse divine nourishment in through your pores, and you will survive on that. So the devas using the divine technology or mystical abilities to infuse nourishment through the pores of the skin. So the human technology now is to IV, right? Intravenous infusion, just is in to the pores of the skin. So more like nanotechnology like that. I thought if I were to claim to be completely fasting while these devas are infusing divine nourishment in through my pores, I would be lying. So I dismissed them, saying, enough. So our Bodhisattva Gautama refused the offer. So some people think, how is it possible? We got such thing, This story is fairy tale. We got such thing as deva, infuse food into you. So there's a modern case study, quite recently only. There's this in the picture here, this yogi, Prahlad. I think he passed away quite a number of years ago. But when I was a junior monk, I came across him through the Malaysian Star paper. At that time, he claimed he can fast. That means totally no eating and no drinking at all for 60 years. That was when I was still like a junior monk, maybe more than 10 years ago. So more than 60 years. So probably more than 70 years he hasn't eaten or drank. So I watched his documentary, watched his interview, and he claimed that he saw a certain deva that informed him, from now on you don't need to eat or drink, and that's it. So he doesn't need to eat and drink anymore. So that's his so-called case. So there are, at least through some modern day examples, some possibility. By very poor thing, the scientists and the doctors treat him like a lab rat and put him in hospital, draw his blood, observe him like maybe 1 or 2 weeks and stuff like that. So I have to subject to all these tests. Okay, next. Suppose I were to take only a little food at a time, only a handful at a time of bean soup, lentil soup, veg soup, or pea soup. Okay, so the fasting he took was step by step, gradual. He didn't like at the first day totally not eat. So he maybe one day you have handful of this, certain soup, and the body kind of degraded. Right? My body became extremely emaciated simply from my eating so little. My limbs became like a jointed segments of vine stems or bamboo stems. My backside became like a camel's hoof. My spine stood out like a string of beads. My ribs jutted out like the jutting rafters of an old, run-down barn. Yeah, so the ribs can be seen. The gleam of my eyes appeared to be sunk deep in my eye sockets, like the gleam of water deep in a well. Okay, next. Right, my scalp shriveled and withered like a green bitter gourd, shriveled and withered in the heat of the wind. The skin of my belly became so stuck to my spine that when I thought of touching my belly, I grabbed hold of my spine as well, and vice versa. So if he touched the spine, he touched his stomach. So that was how skinny, the stomach is so flat. If I urinated or defecated, I fell over on my face right there. If I tried to ease my body by rubbing my limbs with my hands, the hair rotted at its roots, fell from my body as I rubbed. Yeah, so due to malnutrition, all the hairs just came off. Don't need to peel, just hand rub only. People on seeing me would say, Gautama the contemplative is black. So during his birth, or all the while when the Buddha was healthy, his skin is in golden complexion. So due to malnourishment, he became black, become dark and black. So that was how malnutrition. So the fasting phase, from one hand of soup, slowly reduced, to like 1 grain of rice, and even to sometimes animal poo, the bird droppings, stuff like that. So he keep on reducing to that level. So it's not totally not eat. He reduced until so little, and that's how he became so malnourished. So for 6 years, he go through these torturing practices. Okay, next. But with this racking practice of austerities, I haven't attained any superior human state, any distinction in knowledge or vision worthy of the noble ones. Could there be another path to awakening? Right? So he tried both the freezing of karma and burning of karma, and doesn't work. So he is very desperate. He's about to die. So the so-called more modern story will tell you, the musician, you come and play the string instrument and tell you to play the middle path. You tune the string too loose, cannot play music. If you tune the string too tight, then the string will snap. But in this particular sutta, this not being mentioned. But in any case, he managed to figure out the middle path. So what is the thought that triggered him to figure out the middle path? So you have to recollect at which point of time does he feel the practice was on the right track. So he recalled when he was a small boy. I recall once when my father, the Sakyan, was working, and I was sitting in the cool shade of rose apple tree, then quite secluded from sensuality, secluded from unskillful mental qualities, I entered and remained in the first jhana, rapture and pleasure born from seclusion, accompanied by directed thought and evaluation. Right, so this the stock formula for the first jhana. They will tell you have this rapture, pleasure, directed thought, and evaluation. So this is the factors, jhana factors. So just by himself, nobody teach him meditation. So this is probably he have been practicing in his past lives. So it just kind of like habitually able to enter it when the conditions are right. Okay, next. So he start to question, could that be the path to awakening? Then following on that memory came the realization, that is the path to awakening. So to him, this is the correct path. But he's still very skeptical, so he asked himself this question. I thought, so why am I afraid of that pleasure that has nothing to do with sensuality, nothing to do with unskillful mental qualities? I thought, I am no longer afraid of that pleasure. But that pleasure is not easy to achieve with a body so extremely emaciated. Right? So pleasure, or we call this happiness, has different spectrum. There's worldly, sensual kind of happiness, like if you go shopping, you eat your favorite food, right? All these some kind of happiness. We call this mundane, material happiness. But in this case, if you enter the jhanas, the first jhana, he also experienced happiness and his pleasure. But this pleasure has nothing to do with this material happiness. He was secluded from the senses, or rather quite secluded from the senses. That means he's not fantasizing, he's not imagining things. He's just maybe watching his breath, and then tada, have this sense of peace and this happiness. So he was thinking, probably at that time, no teacher taught him this method. So the ascetic teachers did not teach the jhanas. So like Alara Kalama and Udakaramaputa taught him formless concentration. So it's like directly enter that formless concentration. They did not go through the first jhana, second jhana, third and fourth. So they bypass. That is why the Buddha need to recall when he was young, not recall which ascetic teacher taught him the first jhana. No. Right? So the Buddha sort of rediscovered how to enter the jhanas. Yeah. So that is why in the Noble Eightfold Path, the eighth of the Eightfold Path called right concentration is defined by the four jhanas. Probably is the Buddha's discovery. So that's the unique thing. But if you were to go to probably any Hindu yogi, you talk about samadhi, and the Sanskrit word is dhyanas instead of jhanas. They won't have this classification. Yeah? They won't have this classification. So this classification is uniquely Buddhist. Uniquely Buddhist. Okay, suppose I were to take some solid food, some rice or some porridge. Okay, next. So he decided to regain his vitality, regain his health, take some food, and then he can pursue this research. Because at the rate that he's like going to die. When he urinate or defecate, he need to fall down and his bones so brittle and whatever, right? He's like going to die at any point. So he need to regain his health, and by doing so, now 5 monks had been attending on me, thinking, if Gautama, our contemplative, achieves some higher state, he will tell us. But when they saw me taking some solid food, some rice and porridge, they were disgusted and left me, thinking Gautama the contemplative is living luxuriously. He has abandoned his exertion and is backsliding into abundance. So they do not have the concept of this living in moderation. So extremes. Either you enjoy your life to the fullest, or you torture yourself to the maximum. So that's their belief at that time. So once they start to take some rice, some porridge, they thought he was going back to the princely kind of luxury. Start to eat and enjoy himself again. So they left him. Okay, next. Okay, now searching the middle way. So if you look at the picture, there's the story, probably post-canonical, about the Buddha after eating from the bowl, his rice and whatever not, and he put the bowl into the river on the stream, and he make a vow, right? Make a wish, aspiration. If he's able to achieve enlightenment, may the bowl float against the stream, right? Who down here watched the Little Buddha movie? Anybody? By Keanu Reeves. Okay, some. Okay, no. Okay, yeah. So there's a scene from that movie where he put the bowl on top of the running like a river, and the bowl went against the river, go against the stream, right? So symbolically, it means there's a way against desire, going against the stream of this desire. And according to the story, the bull eventually went to the origin of the stream, and at the mouth or at the start of the stream, there was like a naga, a snake, kind of like sleeping under the water. So the bowl went all the way and hit the naga. The bowl fell and hit the naga, and that's the fourth bowl. So if you look at the picture, you see there are four like plates of bowls. There are three stacked together, and there's a fourth one incoming. So there were three Buddhas before that. So the fourth bowl represents the fourth Buddha. So the Naga was like, oh, okay, there's another Buddha coming. So that's the story. Okay, next. So the retreat, we have a theme in June, right? The called the Way of the Dragon. So the serpent, our hidden dragon, kind of like symbolize the seven factors of awakening. So that dragon is waiting to surface, waiting to rise. So that's the theme of the retreat. So for those who are interested to sign up, can sign up later on. Okay, so now we talk about the path to liberation. What did the Buddha practice? So after he, recall, how to enter the first jhana as a boy, the Buddha used the breath meditation as the object, and he attained. They divide the nights into 3 nights. Yeah, so at one sitting throughout the night, the Buddha achieved enlightenment. So the first parts of the night, he went through the first to the fourth jhana. So when the mind is sort of calm, then he decided to look into the past lives. Look into the past lives. And sometimes the sutta may not give the full context. Some people think, oh, jhanas means can see past life. So some people purposely want to practice jhanas to see past life. So actually, that's not actually so. There is another kind of meditation meant for the divine eye or able to recollect past lives. So that is actually got to do with some kind of visualization. So for the Buddha, he's able to multitask, he's able to do the jhanas and able to visualize and purify the divine eye. That's why he can look into his past lives. Okay, then the second watch of the night, he is able to look at other beings arising and passing, other beings' past lives. So it's like very scientific. You look at his own past lives first, try to understand this causal link. What kind of karma did he do to end up in this birth? And he look at other beings, whether it matches the same. Right? So if you do good karma, then you pass away, then born in good realm. You do something bad, then you go to the bad realms. So that is the common kind of phenomenon when he's comparing with himself and other beings. But that still doesn't free him. He's still not free from samsara. So only at the third night, at the third watch, at the third watch of the night, he is able to contemplate on the Four Noble Truths and is able to gain liberation. So that's the summary. So this is the summary of what took place. So now we go to the suttas to kind of like pinpoint what are the practices he's been doing. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this talks about the when the mind was thus concentrated, purified, bright, unblemished, rid of defilement, pliant, malleable, steady, and attained to imperturbability. I directed it to the knowledge of recollecting my past lives. I recollected my manifold past lives, 1 birth, 2, 5, 10, 50, 100,000, 100,000, many eons of cosmic contraction, many eons of cosmic expansion, many eons of cosmic contraction and expansion. So in the Digha Nikaya, it was mentioned that the Buddha was able to recollect 91 eons of his past lives. 91 eons. So the eon here, again, is very subjective. There's the great eon and there's a smaller eon. So the great eon would be probably like one universe cycle, one universe lifespan. And the smaller eon would be the human evolution cycle. And humans can live to 80,000 years old in lifespan, and we degenerate to 10 years, and we re-evolve to 80,000 years. So that's another eon, one small eon. There I had such a name, belonged to such a clan, had such an appearance, such was my food, such my experience of pleasure and pain, such the end of my life. So it's able to know, recollect in detail the lived experiences. Next slide. Passing away from that state, I rearose there. There too I had such a name, belonged to such a clan, had such an appearance, such was my food, such my experience of pleasure and pain, such the end of my life. Passing away from this state, I rearose there. Thus I recollected my manifold past lives in their modes and details. This was the first knowledge I attained in the first watch of the night. Ignorance was destroyed, knowledge arose, darkness was destroyed, light arose, as happens in one who is heedful, ardent, and resolute. So actually this last verse is, we call it the stock formula. So at this point of time, I wouldn't call it enlightenment yet. This is the stock formula. Okay, so I end the sharing now in case it's too heavy for everybody. We'll open the ground to Q&A. So at least we now know the gist, map of how the Buddha attained enlightenment. Any questions?
Awakening and enlightenment the same thing? Does it mean the same?
Pardon, can you repeat?
Is awakening and enlightenment, does it mean the same or is it different?
Yeah, they depend on context. I would say it's the same. Yeah. Okay. Like some people, they use the term like 7 factors of enlightenment. Some use 7 factors of awakening. Yeah, so it's different translator, but same meaning. Okay, anyone else? Any questions? No questions, all okay? All very...
Question.
yeah, okay.
I've forgotten. I have asked this question 2 weeks ago about the formless concentration. Could you remind me again what level of jhana that is?
Okay, so in the suttas, the formless concentration are not termed as jhanas, but out of simplicity, for easy reference, we can call, there are 4 form jhanas, the first, second, third, fourth level, and there are 4 formless concentrations. So we call this another 4 formless jhanas. So total, if you want to call it jhanas, there are 8 jhanas then.
So am I right to say the formless concentration is a deep, how to say, more advanced or deeper mind state than first jhana?
That's right, yes. So like the first 2 teachers, which the Bodhisattva Gautama learned, this realm of nothingness, that's the 7th jhana. Then the neither perception or non-perception would be the 8th.
I'm just a bit curious,
Mhm.
because in our layman mind is level 7 is better than level 1.
Yeah, that's right.
And why is it that Buddha at that time, he was able to attain level 7 jhana and didn't quite feel that he was moving the right direction, then have to recall back when he was younger, when he reached the
Mm.
level of first jhana, they say, okay, that was the direction.
Mm.
What was the, so that was one question. And then level 7, I guess to advance, whether or not they are already in that advanced state of mind,
Mm.
is it not natural for them to keep in that state and progress further and be able to reach awakening, including their teacher or the teacher of the Buddha?
Yeah, so this is a very good question. So again, the sutta itself won't give the whole picture. So actually any level of jhana, be it the first jhana or all the way to the formless concentration, a person can do it without the middle path. A person can enter jhanas without practicing the middle path. That means they can enter it with wrong view or with wrong technique. They can enter. And in many suttas, the Buddha mentioned even in the form jhanas, be it the first jhana or whichever until the fourth jhana, if the person is like a run out of a mill practitioner, they do not have insight. Upon passing away, they get reborn in certain Brahma worlds due to the jhanic kind of karma. And after they use up all the karma, if they do not proceed to upgrade, the only karma remaining is the bad karma. Then they have to be reborn in the lower realms. So it can be even as low as the hell realms, depending on how much negative karma they have. So that is the problem. So what the Buddha discovered was he discovered the middle path. The middle path. That means by applying like right thought and the right effort and everything, they can enter this concentration. So if you want to compare like with the Anapanasati Sutta, the 16 steps, so there is a portion on the reflection of impermanence. So I would say that would be the unique factor for the Buddha's kind of discovery. Yeah, whereas the other, let's say the practitioners before him, they can enter jhanas, but they may not know they are not using the Eightfold Path method.
Okay.
Yeah, so like a lot of like the rishis, we think about like some of the Thai forest tradition monks, they incorporate for some of the rishis technique. So if they cannot overcome craving through right thought, they use fasting lah. They do fasting, so they really don't eat lah. Yeah, then when the mind is tired, everything calm down and still, and then they believe their mind is quiet enough to enter concentration. So they use other means to enter this concentration. So they're not really using the Eightfold Path kind of technique. Yeah.
Okay. Different technique.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you, Bante.
Okay, no problem. Hey, any other questions? If there's no questions, we take a break for 5 minutes and we come back for this guided session. Okay, while waiting for the rest to return, anyone still has questions to ask? The routine that we've been sort of doing, like the 4 sublime states versus breath meditation, there are some pros and cons. The pro for using breath meditation, you can systematically enter jhana to jhana, level to level, first, second, third, fourth, and so on. So it's easier to distinguish. But the cons is if let's say you halfway you daydream, let's say a person, let's say they go from first to second, the second they daydream, then I want to give instruction, let's say go to third, then you cannot follow. So that's the problem. But if we talk about the 4 sublime states, each sublime state is separate by itself. So a person can, for example, just start off with appreciative joy, and they can enter the third level straight away. So they can bypass the first and second. So even though, let's say, they daydream for the loving kindness, they daydream for the compassion, but if they start to come down by the time they do this appreciative joy, then they still can do the third level, for example. So there's some pros and cons between the two. So every meditation object has its pros and cons. So like for example, like most of the Buddhist traditions now, let's say they do the recollection of the Buddha, they do a short mantra, they kind of chant. Like even for the Thai tradition, if they just use Bhutto and not the whole Itipiso, the 9 qualities of the Buddha chant, the mantra alone itself can lead one to a formless concentration. My opinion is this is may enter the 6th level of concentration. So you bypass the 1st to 5th, enter the 6th. So some people, they chant Buddha or Amitabha or whatever they chant, the mind very calm, very quiet. Which level of concentration, don't know. Because they never been taught how to differentiate the different levels. So there's nothing to compare. So that's the cons lah. But the pros is very fast, can enter this state. But the cons is they may not know how to differentiate. So every meditation object has its issues. Yeah.
Is samadhi and jhana the same thing?
Close. So samadhi is state of calmness. So jhanas is a kind of samadhi. So there are other types of samadhi that doesn't lead to jhanas. For example, if a person keep on being mindful of impermanence, it can also lead to samadhi. So that's the wisdom kind of samadhi, nothing to do with jhanas. Okay, any other issues? If no issues, then I think we can start. Everyone's camera is on. So you find a comfortable posture, make sure the back is upright and the rest of the body relaxed. Okay, so the first phase of meditation we are doing is the impurities of body meditation to learn to let go of the body. So we're going to visualize all the hairs from head to toe, and we're going to wish it well and happy. So when you visualize the image of the hairs, that's part of mindfulness of the body. And when we sub-vocalize the mind, we keep labeling, wishing it well and happy. That's part of right thought. Thoughts of non-anger. So usually other styles, other system of meditation, they'll just ask you visualize that part of the body only, and not much of this sub-vocalization, not much of right thought. So when the mind run wild, lots of daydreaming about the hairs and the images, then they might require to do fasting, to make yourself create less formations and stuff like that. So in our routine, we deliberately generate right thought. Keep labeling, wish it well and happy. And once you move on to a new patch of hair, wish it well and happy. So we keep repeating. And we can check our state of mind, yeah? Whether is it getting calmer or is it getting more agitated. So it gets calmer, it means you're on the right track. It's an indicator for your right view. So if you apply the Noble Eightfold Path, the right thought, right effort, everything, and this craving, this tension should subside, should calm down, should reduce. So that's the third and fourth noble truth. But if let's say you have other expectations or maybe you're worrying, have other plans later on, and you keep dwelling on these expectations, then you may experience a certain anxiety, increase in tension. So that's the first two noble truths. And you can see how far can the mind settle down. And we are not pushing for the mind to settle. We are not controlling. This is not Qigong. The settling should be the byproduct. Emphasis is on the right thought. So there should be a point of time when the settling is so negligible, the mind becomes like quite stagnant really, quite settled and steady. So we call this the baseline emotion. So it's a neutral state, no jhanas, no vipassana yet. So this is the minimum requirement for vipassana, for insight. So for this particular meditation subject, the vipassana would be to think of the hairs growing and falling. All the hairs go through birth, aging, sickness, and death. So you think of the hairs growing and falling, many, many cycles. And as we keep looping this image, we need to keep labeling impermanence or any word or phrase associated with impermanence. You can use birth and death, rising and falling, change, anicca, inconstant, and just pick your favorite and keep repeating. And so whatever phenomena that occur, that's the detachment process. So whatever joy occur or whatever peace that you experience, nothing to do with jhanas. So that is the vipassana route. And regardless of what happened, keep on labeling impermanence, keep looping the image, birth and death, impermanence. And we can check the sense of self or the sense of selfishness. Is it increasing or decreasing in intensity? So with enough consistent right effort, right repetition, one can actually attain enlightenment, according to the story of this Arahant Sivali. During his ordination, when he shaved his hair, he think of impermanence of the hair and he got enlightened. So how fast or slow again depends on individual, but we don't have luxury for that. So now we're going to reflect: are these hairs truly self? Can we tell the hairs not to go through birth and death? And the next part of the body, we can think of the nails, fingernails and toenails. May they be well and happy. And all these nails go through birth, aging, sickness, and death. So you think of the nails growing and falling many, many cycles. And as we keep looping this image and we keep on labeling impermanence, so this looping of this image is a more controlled version of recollecting past lives. Recollecting past lives have no control on what events you may see. But in this particular case, you sort of in control of what you want to generate the image. So if, let's say, in this simple task, you're able to think of the birth and death of the nails without straying off and over-dramatizing. Clinging occurs once we do not generate right thought. Very fast. The 5 clinging aggregates is designed to cling. So once the mind starts to stray off, think of some other story, and it shows that maybe one is still not suited to see past lives. And we cannot even detach from this controlled practice. So if let's say you think of the nails growing and falling and start to think of, oh, which manicure specialists I go and visit or nail specialists I visit, which are the friends I go with, what kind of products I use for my nails, start to dramatize. Then end up watching drama show, many series and episodes. Then if the mind is already in another samsara, then that's attachment and becoming. And then we can ask ourselves, are these nails truly self? Can we tell the nails not to go through birth and death? So next part of the body, we're going to visualize all the teeth inside the mouth. May they be well and happy. And all these teeth go through birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So you think of the teeth growing and falling, many, many cycles. Even though the teeth fall off the most twice, we can just keep looping, keep repeating the process. And we need to keep labeling impermanence. Then we can ask ourselves, are these teeth truly self? Can we tell the teeth not to go through birth and death? And the next part of the body, we can visualize all the skin that surround the entire body from head to toe. We wish them well and happy. And we can think of the hair as the skin going through birth, aging, sickness, and death. And as we keep looping this process, we can keep labeling impermanence. Then we can ask ourselves, are the skin truly self? Can we tell the skin not to go through birth and death? Then next we move on to familiarizing with the 4 elements of the body. So from this routine onwards, no visualization, no imagining, everything is feeling or sensations. So we're just going to feel the entire body. We call this the 4 elements. So the 4 elements are the earth, fire, wind, water. Earth represents any hard or soft sensations. Fire is hot and cold. Wind is fast, slow movements. And water is moist or dry sensations. And the whole idea is to let these sensations appear naturally by themselves. No need to control them, no imagining. Everything is real-time evidence. So whatever sensation appear, we make peace with them. We just wish them well and happy. And if you cannot figure out which element does it belong to, doesn't matter. Don't have to crack your brain over which element. They are just general guidelines. The whole idea is once you detect something, we call this sense contact, then we apply right thought. Once we let the feeling fester, maybe have pleasant feeling or painful feeling, the sensation, pleasant or painful, and if you do not generate right thought, then the mind will drift off again. Start to create stories. So new sensation appear, well and happy. New sensation appear, well and happy. Okay, and if the mind is quite settled down, quite stable, and doesn't settle any further, then we call this the baseline emotion, similar to the previous meditation object. So this baseline emotion, no jhanas, no vipassana yet. And we just remember this emotion, remember this state of mind. So we use it as a comparison. Okay, and whenever you're ready, now we're going to cultivate boundless loving kindness. And we're going to wish all beings in all directions well and happy, above, below, and all across. So there's no need to push the mind. We let it extend naturally by itself. However far it wishes to extend doesn't matter. And no need to visualize. In fact, don't visualize. And what we are doing in this routine, we are going to perceive all beings being made out of 4 elements. So there's the non-discrimination method, lowest common denominator, any sensation appear. We are going to wish all beings well and happy. If you start to visualize certain being that look very cute, and you have certain emotion, you think of certain, visualize certain being look very scary, you have another emotion, so you try to avoid that at the moment. So use the non-discrimination method. All beings are made of the 4 elements. So the sensations can appear inside the body or outside the body, doesn't matter. Once you detect something, then we are going to wish all beings well and happy. So the labeling has slightly changed. We are now wishing all beings. Okay, and if all the conditions are right, you have the right thought, right effort, and everything, it will trigger this right concentration. This we call this jhanic concentration, usually the first level. So if, let's say, compared to the neutral baseline emotion, you start to feel this one is more pleasant and more peaceful. So that's the indicator. So the pleasantness of this emotion constitute of joy and happiness. So for beginners, there's no way to differentiate all the factors, joy, happiness, or initial sustained thinking. You just know, okay, it's more pleasant than the neutral baseline emotion. Only the pure academic and scholars will hypothesize how to enter jhanas by dropping certain factor or drop this factor. And regardless of what you experience, keep on wishing all beings well and happy. So the sutta method is to release the mind, not to drop factors. Okay, so now what we're going to do is to add some insight, and we're going to reflect on impermanence. So whatever sensation you detect, we're going to change the label to impermanence or any word or phrase associated with impermanence. So you may detect rising or falling, or both rising and falling, according to Anapanasati, which doesn't coincide with any stages of insight. And whatever you detect, keep labeling impermanence. If the joy and happiness start to disappear, one may experience this neutral and refreshing emotion. We call that equanimity of the fourth level of concentration. So it's a jump from 1 to 4. without dropping any specific factors in particular. That's how it is. So regardless of what you experience, keep on reflecting on impermanence. So regardless of what you experience, keep on reflecting on impermanence. Once you stop labeling, then there will be clinging. So even in concentrated states, we call that form and formless clinging, form and formless becoming. Okay, then we move on to the second sublime state, which is compassion. So for compassion, we are going to wish, may all beings be free from suffering. And using the non-discrimination approach, all beings, whether they are rich or poor, healthy or sick, as long as they cling on to the aggregates, they cling on to the sensations that will lead to their stress and suffering. So similarly, whenever we detect any sensation, that's an opportunity for clinging. So we need to sort of reduce that by deliberately wishing all beings free from suffering. So no imagination. Once you start to imagine, that's already clinging and becoming. I'll come back to the evidence, sensations, and wishing all beings free from suffering. or if you want to walk the middle path, right? Overcome this birth, aging, sickness, and death. First is not to get binded by this birth, aging, sickness, and death. So one of the hindrances, we call it restlessness and worry. So the conventional kind of compassion that we know of is to worry for people. Are they okay? Do they need help? Do they have enough? Right? So a lot of worry and restlessness. So the middle way compassion should avoid those. Come back to the sensations. Sensation appear. May all beings be free from suffering. Okay, if the conditions are right, then the compassion should feel quite pleasant. So we call this the joy and happiness of the second level of concentration. And regardless of what you experience, keep on wishing, may all beings be free from suffering. So in the maybe Mahayana tradition, they use this as a basis for bodhicitta. If you are, let's say, aspiring for enlightenment, this should be the altruistic motive. And due to time constraint, before we conclude the session, same gentle reminder: in all activities, standing, sitting, walking, or lying down, we can be mindful of the sublime states or mindful of impermanence. And with that, we can gently open our eyes, formally end the session, but informally still can generate right thought. Okay, any questions or problems? Anyone? No? Okay, then we can end off with the concluding chant. Dedicating merits. Akasata ca bhumata deva naga mahitika punyang tang anumoditva cirang rakantu loka sasanam etavata ca amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva sabbe bhuta sabbe sata anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Dedication of merits to departed. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Aspiration. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana patiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, and we end off by bowing to the Buddha 3 times. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Okay, then same advertisement. If you're keen for the retreat, you can scan the QR code, which week you want to join, or you join all 3 weeks, that's fine. So another announcement is that next week there won't be a Zoom class. We'll be having the sort of last Zoom class of the month on the 28th of June. So because we are skipping next week, so I'm going to wish everyone here advanced happy Visang Day. Yeah? Okay, good night.